operating leverage is a very fundamental concept from an ACCA knowledge level, skill level, and professional level exam perspective. I'll try explaining the operating leverage concept to you in under 3 minutes, and then I will add an example for you towards the end of the video so that you can remember this concept very well. So what is operating leverage and why should you care about it? Well, operating leverage is basically the analysis of fixed cost and variable cost. Companies with a high operating leverage will often have a higher proportion of fixed operating costs compared to variable operating costs. Meaning companies with a high operating leverage tend to use more fixed assets in general. Now, why should you care about operating leverage? Well, think about it this way. If you can make a sale without incurring any additional amount of fixed costs, then obviously your earnings will soar more rapidly as opposed to companies with lower operating leverage. Essentially, fixed cost remains the same in a relevant range. Within that range, whether you sell 1 unit or 1 million units, assuming that your relevant range is between 1 to 1 million, your fixed cost will remain the same, which means that regardless of your output, this cost will not change. Companies with a high operating leverage will often look at making sales to an amount where their fixed cost is covered, and then their earnings will soar very, very rapidly given that they do not have to incur more cost. With that being said, let's take up a couple of examples now to help drill down this concept. So to give you an example of a company with a high operating leverage, I always like to look at Microsoft. Most of Microsoft's costs are incurred in the development phase, in the marketing phase. So they tend to have a high operating leverage because these are fixed costs as opposed to variable costs. So whether Microsoft sells 1 copy of their license or 1 million copies of their Microsoft license, their costs will remain the same as long as they are in the relevant range, which means that their earnings will soar rapidly. Now, to take an example of a company with a lower operating leverage, I always like to talk about Walmart. Most of Walmart's costs will be their inventory, it will be their direct material, their labor, which are all variable costs. Their variable costs as compared to their fixed costs are significantly higher, which means that Walmart will always have to incur more costs to make a sale, which means their operating leverage is lower. Now with that, I hope this concept has been simplified for you, and I hope you can go and ace your ACCA exam. If this has been helpful, check out other videos.